Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Van and today we will be diving into a practical application of cost accounting through the full cost method. We'll be analyzing the product profitability of the company called the Happy House Company. This case study is a great way to see how management control and cost accounting principles come together to provide critical business insights. Before we get into the number, let's understanding the business. The Happy House companies manufacture candles. Their process begins with the procurement of raw materials, primarily wax, wick, and perfume. The production process has two main workshops. First is the melting workshop, where the wax is melted down. This process creates two types of semi-finished goods, or work in process or work in progress, unscented wax block and scented wax block. An important detail here is that the company experiences a 10% loss of wax during the melting process, which we need to account for. These wax blocks then move to the molding and baking workshop. The unscented blocks are used to create square unscented candles. The scented blocks, on the other hand, are used to produce round scented candles. This molding process for scented candle also produces some wet wax, which is later sold for its salvage value. Once the candles are finished and packaged, they are stored as a finished product and then sold to customers. Our goal today is to check on the cost through this entire flow to determine how profitable each of the two candle type really is. Our analysis will be broken down into several parts. We begin with the most crucial first step in the full cost method, allocating indirect costs. These are the costs like a factory rent or administrative salary that are tied to a single product. To allocate them, we follow the two steps process for each department or operational center. First, we define the total volume of each primary activity, which we call the cost driver volume. Second, we will calculate a cost driver rate by dividing the total indirect cost of that center by its cost driver volume. This rate will then allow us to assign a fair share of indirect costs to our products. Let's begin. Here is the main table we need to complete. You can see 5 operational centers: procurement, the 2 workshops, melting and molding, distribution, and administration. For each one, we have the total indirect cost that needs to be allocated. Our task is to determine the code driver volume for each and then calculate the cost driver rate. We notice that the volume for administration center is the cost driver volume is already given to us as 26,346 euro in general. We started with the procurement center. Step 1, procurement center. The code driver for the procurement center is defined as €1 of wax and perfume purchase. So to find the cost driver volume, we simply need to calculate the total value of these materials purchased during the period. The company purchased 800 kg of wax at €6 per kilogram, which come to 5,400 euro. They also purchased 25 liters of perfume at 104 euro per liter, totaling 2,600. Adding these together, our total cost driver volume is 8,000 euro. Now we can calculate the rate. We take the total indirect cost of 1,220, 1,280 and divide it by our volume of 800 euro. This gives us a cost driver rate of 16 cents. Okay, so now next up is a melting workshop. The code driver here is a direct labor hour. This is a very common driver in production environments where activity is closely related to the time workers spend on the products. The case provides us with the total direct labor for hours for this workshop, which is 700 hours. So our cost driver volume is 700. To find the rate, we take the total the indirect cost of 5,600 and divide by the 700 of direct labor hours. This results in a cost driver rate of €8 per direct labor hour. For every hour a worker spent in the melting workshop will add €8 of indirect or overhead cost of the product. So I think that is clear for you. Now we move to the molding workshop. Here the code driver is the number of candles produced. This makes sense as work in this department scales directly with the quantity of individual units being molded and baked. To find the volume, we need to sum up the production of both types of candle. The company produced 8,800 square candle and 3,125 round candle. Adding those together, the total cost driver volume is 11,925 candles. The rate is calculated by driving the total indirect cost of 3,577.50 euro by the number of candles is 11,925. This gives us the rate of 30 cents per candle produced. So here in the next you can see the information about the production, but we use this information for the next slide to calculate cost of production. Let's move to the distribution center. The costs here are related to shipping and selling the product. So the appropriate cost driver is the number of candles sold. We are told that the company sold 7,500 units of square candle and 3,000 of round candles. The total number of the candles sold is therefore 10,500 units. This is our cost driver volume for distribution center. The rest is the totally indirect cost. The rest is the totally the rest is the total indirect cost of 5,250 divided by 10,500 candles sold, which gives us a clean rate of 50 cents per candle sold. Finally, we have the administration center. They are the general overhead cost or indirect cost. The cost driver is €1 of production cost of candle sold. As we saw in the emission table, this volume is already provided to us as a €25,346. We'll see how this figure is calculated later, but for now we can use this to find our rate. We divide the total indirect cost of 3,955 by the cost of drivers volume of 26,346. This gives us a rate of approximately 15 cents or €0.15 of our production cost. And here is our completed table, right, of indirect cost. We have now successfully calculated the volume and rate for each of our 5 operational centers. These rates are the foundation for the rest of our analysis. We use them to allocate all the indirect costs to the product as they move through the production and sales cycle, from the procurement, melting workshop, molding workshop, distribution, and administration. So I hope that information will be useful for you. Now we move to the part 2, calculating the full purchase cost of our raw materials and checking their inventory's value. To get the true cost of our materials, we can't just use the purchase price. We must also add the procurement overhead we just calculated. After that, we use the weighted average cost or the WRC method to value the material we use in the production. Let's start with the full purchase cost of wax. The direct cost is a simple 900 kilogram at the €6 per kilogram, which is 5,400 euro. To this, we add the allocated indirect cost from procurement center. We apply our procurement rate of 16 cents to the purchase value of 5,400. This gives us an allocated cost of 864. The total full purchase cost of the wax is therefore 5,400 plus the 864, which equal 6,264. This means the actual cost per kilogram isn't €6, but rather than €6.96 when we include the cost of acquiring it. We do the exact same calculation for the perfume. The direct cost for 25 liters at 104 per liter is 2,600. We apply the same procurement rate of 16 cents to this purchase value, which adds 416 indirect cost. The total full purchase cost for the perfume is €3,060, making the full cost per liter is €120.64. Now we need to calculate the weighted average cost for our materials purchase. The work method smooths out price by variation. The work method smooths out price variation by averaging the cost of beginning inventory and new purchases. The formula is the total value of inventory available divided by the total quantity available. For wax, we started with 80 kg of inventory value at €5 per kilogram for a total beginning value of €400. We then add our purchase, our new purchase product, which has a full cost of 6,264 for 900 kilograms. This gives us a total available quantity of 980 kilograms. And the total value of €6,664 dividing the value by the quantity give us the weighted average cost for wax of 6.80 cents per €80 per kilogram. This is the unit cost we will use when we send wax to production. So remember, this is the unit cost we use when we send the wax to production. We repeat the same procedure for the perfume. We have a beginning inventory of 5 liters at €116.80 each, value at 584. We add our new purchase of 25 liters, value at €3,016. This gives us a total of 30 liters available at the value of 3,600. The work of perfume is therefore is 120 per liter. Finally, for the week, there was no purchases during this period. Therefore, the work remains the same as the beginning inventory cost, which is 20 cents per meter. So our inventory costs are now established. €6.8 for wax, 120 for perfume, and 20 cents for wick. We will use in part 3. We use this material cost to calculate the cost of production for our work in process products. The unscented and scented work block created in melting workshop. This is the first stage of our manufacturing process. Let's build the production cost of unscented wax block. We start with direct cost first, the cost of wax. The key here is 10% of material loss. The final product requires 450 kilograms of wax. Right? So due to the 10% of material loss during the melting, the initial amount of wax needed was 450 divided by 90% equal 500 kilograms at a weighted average cost of 6.8 euro per kilogram. So the total cost is 3,400. Next, we add the cost of the wick used. 1,600 meter at 20 cents per meter, which is 3,320. Then we add the labor cost. We have a direct labor hour, 400 hour at a rate of 19.60 euro per hour, totaling 7,840. Finally, we allocate the indirect cost from the melting workshop. We use the 400 direct labor hours and multiple by our melting workshop's rate of 8 euro per hour. This adds 3,200 in overhead. Summing of all these costs give us a total cost of production of 14,760. Since this process produces 90 unscented blocks, so the cost per block is 164. So you can see here the full explanation how when we calculate all the information. Now we do the same for scented wax block. Again, we account for the 10% of wax loss. To get the 162 kilograms of wax, we must have started with 180 kilograms, right? At a cost of 6.80 euro, 6.80 per kilogram, and the total is 1,224. We then add the cost of the other material, the cost 400 meter of wick at 20 cents to 80 euro, and 8 liter of perfume at ours cost of 130 euro. Weighted average cost at 960. Direct labor was 300 hours at 19.60 for a cost of 5,880 euro. To allocate the indirect cost, we take those 300 labor hours and multiple by 8 euro per 1 hour. At melting workshops, cost driver rate, so we adding 2,400 in overhead. The total cost production for scented block is 10,544. The companies produce 7 of these blocks, so the unit cost is 392 and 52 cents per block. Now we have the cost of block we produce. We need to update our work in process in inventories account, which using the weighted average cost method again. This table tracks the inventory of wax blocks. It calculates the weighted average cost to value the block that are consumed, sent to the next production stage, and those that on the block available. For the unscented wax blocks, right, total available, the value of beginning inventory is 2,350 is added to the value of new production 14,760 to get the total value available of 17,150, which is divided by the total quantity of 15 plus the 90 is 105 block to find the work with average cost of 163 per block, right? So you can see from here. For the scented wax block, total available should be equals the value of beginning inventory 1,230 plus the value of new production 10,544 equal 11,774 euro. For the weighted average cost, the total value 11,774 is divided by the total quantity of the wax block. It means that the 3 plus the 27, so to find the weighted average cost of 392.47 euro per block. So before moving to the next part of calculation of production of finished products and inventory, you can we'll move to the next video, and thank you and hope to see you again in the next video.